Okay, so why do we care about this? Because remember, I'm trying to convince you that the lambda calculus is a powerful language, as powerful as any programming language you use every day. So what do we have in the lambda calculus so far? We have Booleans, we have Boolean expressions, we have conditionals, the if statement, we have, or the if expression in this case, we have arithmetic, we have numbers and arithmetic operators. So notice we have everything we need in a programming language except for one thing. If your language only has those features, it's not really complete. What's missing in a programming language besides if statements and the basic operation is you need loops, right? You need to be able to have loops. And if you don't have loops, you need to have recursion. You need to have one or the other. Remember that loops and recursions are equivalent, but you need one or the other. If you don't have loops or recursions, then your programming language is not complete. So now we have to introduce either loops or recursions in the program in lambda calculus. Otherwise, we can't claim it's the most powerful language there is, right? Just like any other. So here's the problem with loops. We can't do loops in the lambda calculus. Why? Because to do loops, you have to have variables, right? You have to have counters and so on to count the iterations. And we don't even have assignment statements. We don't have variables that we can assign value to them. So we can't do loops in the lambda calculus. So loops are out, right? So we must have recursion then. We need one or the other, otherwise we can't have a complete language. So the rest of this class is how to implement recursion in the lambda calculus. Does that make sense how we're going from fixed points, which may not be related. Right now, you may not see the connection, but I'm going to show you in a minute how it's connected. And the reason we need fixed points is because we need to somehow have recursion. But unfortunately, in the lambda calculus, we cannot have recursion either. Why? Because remember, a recursive function is a function of, let's do the factorial function, right? It's a function of n that returns n times f of n. But the problem is to do a recursive call, you need to give a name to that function. And in a lambda calculus, all the functions are anonymous. So how would you call that same function inside of itself? You can't. The only way you would do it in JavaScript is we give a name to that function. So we call it f. So f is this whole thing. And then we call f inside of itself. So this is how we establish recursion, yes? So everybody remembers how recursion works. We define a function, we give it a name, and then we call that function itself inside of its own body. The problem is we can't do this in a lambda calculus. We don't have variables where you can assign something to a variable. We don't even have assignment statement. Because all our functions are anonymous in the lambda calculus, there is no way to call a function within itself because the function doesn't have a name in the first place. So you can't introduce its name in here. So everybody understand why we can't have recursion, at least not directly. This is why we have to work a little harder, and this is what I'm going to show you now. We can do it, but it's not obvious. We have to simulate recursion. We can't have it directly. And here is how we're going to simulate it. It's a three-step process. You don't have to understand where it comes from. I'm not going to prove that it works. I'm just going to demonstrate that it works on an example. But you will see how it works. So hopefully you'll convince that it always works. So let's say you want to build a recursive function in the lambda calculus, like the g function. Let's say g is the factorial function. So let's call it g instead of f, right? So let's say you want to write this function. So in the lambda calculus, it's a function of n that returns something where inside the body, you have to be calling g. But the problem is, remember, this is the function. And even though we call that g, but in a lambda calculus, we can't give it a name. That's the problem. But let's do it in English right now. Let's call this function, this is a wannabe recursive function. It's not really recursive because even though it calls g, we have no way of giving the name g to this function. So it's kind of broken like here, we're missing this part. So we're gonna fix that by doing step 2 and 3. So we start with the function that we want, even though it doesn't work recursively yet. We're going to modify it in a couple steps to get the recursive version of this function. And that's pretty cool. It's very simple too, but here is how it works. So everybody understand what I'm saying? You start with a function that's not really recursive, and after these two steps, you will get the recursive version of this. So here is the second step is very easy. You're going to take this function, and you're going to create a new function. All you have to do is you have to add lambda g in front. So whatever g that is in there that is not defined yet, now we're going to make it as a front parameter here, lambda g dot lambda n dot that. Notice this is not a recursive function either, right? I don't know what the name of that function is, but it's not g. This is some function f. So g is not calling itself, right? You're just passing g as an argument, and then you're calling it. So this is not recursive, right? This function is not. It cannot be because there's no recursion in the lambda calculus, and this one is not either. But now we have two functions, the original one and then the new one f. So far, so good. So you take a function that's almost recursive, but is not, and you add that parameter in front that has the same name as the function. And now step number 3 is where the magic happens. We take this function f and we apply y to it, the y combinator. Remember, this is any lambda calculus function. So when you apply y to f, what do you get? Well, you get the fixed point of f, whatever that is. I don't care what it is. But because this is the fixed point of f, that means that every time you see y of f, right, you can replace it by f of y of f. And here is where the magic happens, because suddenly you started from here and you end up here. And what did you get? You get whatever you had before with one extra copy of f. It's like you generated f out of nowhere. Right? You just started from yf, and then suddenly you say, well, this can be replaced by that because it's a fixed point, and therefore I can insert an f in front of this, and that will be the same value. That's the magic. And so why does that matter? Because even though we don't have loops, and even though we don't have recursion, because we can't give a name to a function, if we can make a copy of a function, like magically we can bring in a function in front of this, it's as if we were making a call to that. In fact, we are making a call to that function f, and that's going to be our recursive call, right? Because every time we need to do a recursive call on this, we're just going to magically replace this by this, and we're going to insert a new copy of f. Of course, it's not magical at all, right? It's explained right here, but it just looks magical, right? So we're going to simulate recursion by bringing in new copies of f every time. Well, not really f, but a copy of this this fixed point thing, and we're going to be able to simulate recursion. So if you don't see it yet, on the next slide, I'm going to show you how this works on the factorial example. I'm going to build this factorial function. But before I do this, let me review the algorithm. It's a 3-step algorithm to build a recursive function in the lambda calculus. You start with the function that you want. So now I'm going to work on the factorial function. Can we write this in the lambda calculus? Sure we can. It's the lambda n dot. Now, do we have, oh, by the way, we need the if statement, right? If n equals 0, then returns 1. And we need the base case, right? So do we have an if statement in the lambda calculus? Sure, we wrote that last time. So now I'm going to write it in English, but you know you could convert this to a lambda expression, right? If, condition, then expression, block expression. So do we have if? Yes. Do we have n equals 0? Yeah, that's called the is0 predicate, right? We did that last time. Do we have the constant 1? Sure, lambda f dot lambda x dot f of x. Do we have multiplication? Yes. Do we have the predecessor function, n minus 1? I showed it to you last time, even though we didn't study it. Can we make a function called n on n minus 1? Well, sure, that's the lambda calculus right there. We have everything we need to write down this g function in the lambda calculus. I'm not going to do it, but if you convert this to a lambda expression, it's going to be pretty big, but it will be exactly this function. Everybody agrees that you can write this function now because we have all the pieces. Well, that's step number 1. Notice this function is not recursive, right? Because it calls g, but there's no way to give the name g to this thing, so we can't really call itself. But in English, we say, let's think of this as g, and g is used here. Step number 2, because this is not recursive, we're just going to create a new function where we insert lambda g dot in front. This thing is still not recursive. That f function does not call itself. It only calls g, which is just a parameter of it. So there's no recursion at all. But that's the algorithm. It says, take a function, add this in front. This is called f. Step number 3, compute y of f, where y is the y combinator. This, whatever you get, is going to be the factorial function. This is the amazing thing, is that this y of f is going to behave like the factorial function. In other words, it's going to simulate recursion. Even though we can't have recursion per se, hopefully you get that now, because functions don't have names, so you can't call a function by name, or not itself, at least. You can give a name as a parameter and you can call it, but you can't call itself, right? Because a function doesn't have a name, be able to call itself. But somehow, if you do this process, at the end, what you get is a function that does what you want it to do. You simulate recursion. So I'm going to show you how that works on the next example. Wow. Now I'm going to compute that function. I'm going to apply it to a number. I think I'm going to apply it to 3. So now I'm going to compute factorial of 3. How do I do that? Well, I claim that this function yf is factorial. So I'm going to plug in this for factorial. I'm going to apply it to 3, and I'm going to try and convince you that the answer will be 6, which is factorial 3. So I'll do that in the next segment. The only new part about this segment is, now that we know about the y combinator, you can use it here in step 3. So now if I want you to write any recursive function, you can do the 3-step process, and whatever you get at the end is going to be something that behaves exactly like that recursive function. Does that make sense? Before we do the example, that's the general algorithm.